No, I have bad luck. I was like pressing the wrong button. All right, so we're gonna get right into this in terms of basically what I'm gonna be showing off for the new evacuation stuff and how it affects overall gameplay. So first things first is that we need to basically just wait for Chelsea to alert where she's gonna start. Okay, so she's starting in Presidio. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna try an urban evacuation in this area with the new mechanics that have been put in. And then let me go ahead and switch out my headset battery because it's being stupid. All right, so you guys are going to notice a lot of changes in terms of basically how evacuation works now. Essentially, we listened to all the feedback that we were getting in terms of essentially just like decentralizing it, the administration aspect of gameplay from the zones, like the structures. Because the biggest thing was it was very cumbersome to have to run around every single province and build an admin center, and then basically just to set a couple of rules or conditions of what you wanted to do. And we got a lot of feedback over the last year in terms of like what needed to happen with the admin center in terms of just saying like what are people saying, what do they like, what do they don't like. So I feel like this is a solid step in the right direction in terms of the execution of evacuation based off of just kind of hearing what everyone has to say. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place down an admin center. We'll do it over here for right now. The location doesn't matter as much because we haven't had the time to obviously replace the asset with what was being discussed in the announcements channel for the discussion thread for like giving it a new appearance. So for right now, it'll be the old appearance until basically my artist can eventually convert it out in the next 24 to 48 hours. We're going to be changing the admin center to here. I'll show you guys actually. Let me pull open basically something like this. If I can open the image, let me turn on slow mo so I don't lose out on basically a time. Okay, so it would basically be why is my Chrome not opening a tab? There we go. And then I can just open the picture. Essentially, the admin center is going to be going in this direction of essentially just kind of being a processing center with like some kind of administration structure. So we're still kind of working out the design. And the idea is that it's going to have like speaker towers and floodlights for processing. Of like, so that way later on we can add VO of like kind of like the audio sound file that Tarkin made on our Discord, where it's like just general messages that you would say to people when they're being processed and evacuated. One thing is, I'm still trying to debate if this should just be a wall module, like a wall blueprint or prefab, and then we keep the admin center as like a central location. But if you have one of these in your province where an admin center is, instead of going to the admin center, they'll come here for processing. So the admin center just becomes a point for you to interact with the world as a whole. And if you don't build an admin center, sorry, and if you build an admin center, then you would build maybe one of these from that, and then you'd be able to snap walls onto those points. And the idea would be is that this would kind of serve as like a way to kind of like set up flow control and processing in zones. What's going to be interesting is based off of just when we essentially get like this in, we need to just kind of see what people think and then go from there. Because I'm still on the fence on some other things that I'm going to talk about later in the stream. Let me see if I can open up a better picture that kind of shows the object density, and I'll drag that over. Like there. And then yeah, so it'll work with the navigation. It's perfectly fine. It's not too complicated. When it comes down to basically the density of the object, it's just fairly straightforward to build navigation for something like this. But this is something that we're looking at as like a way to kind of like have a flow of evacuation. What I'm trying to figure out from a director standpoint is to replace this structure unilaterally or to basically just add like a wall module. So I'm still going to figure that out in the next 24 hours or so. But you're going to notice right off the bat, we have a drop down here, and the drop downs in the colors signify the infection level in those zones, and then the island that these places are on. And if you don't know where Glen Military Barracks is, you can click on it, press that, and it will jump you to that zone. And then obviously, like as you click on it, you can see like, oh, what's Saber Harvest's status? Okay, I don't have any evacuation targets. They're not in martial law. There's 11,000 people alive in that province. There's a small infection population. So I'll jump over there, and basically that kind of gives you an idea. Now we're going to be getting rid of this little Saber Harbor, infected population, unknown zone. That's going bye bye. We're going to go in the direction of having it to where it's going to be like the division, where when you zoom out a certain distance, you would have 3D text that basically like draws in the center of every province. So instead of like, well, this is that information, and then I gotta move over here, and I gotta look at that, and then I gotta move over here, and I gotta see that. Once you get to a certain elevation, you can see the details of that zone for everything fitting your vision, your peripheral vision. So just by zooming out to this height, you would know the name of this province. You would know its population. You would know what groups are in play. You would know surviving population X, Y, and Z. So that way you can make very quick, meaningful decisions without having to like move around and wait for the system to detect that you're in another province. So that's going to be coming. That's not ready yet. We're working on that tonight, going into tomorrow. That's going to be one of the last things that's going to be holding this experimental from going public. Is I want to get everything in that ping out in one go, and then let people just play with it over the weekend, give us their feedback, and then just make some last minute changes going into next week and wrap this shit up because we need to be on vehicles like yesterday. So, anyway, I digress. Let me get right back into what we're doing here. So, essentially, I can manage all the zones. As zones get worse in contagion level, these colors are going to change and they're going to grow, essentially. So, you'll see that as we play. Let me unpause the game so that Chelsea has some time to basically do her job and kill people. So, right off the bat, I'm going to build one helipad. Well, I'll build two helipads, screw it. And then on top of that, I'm going to go here, and you're going to notice that we have a transportation garage. Obviously, the graphics haven't been updated. This build isn't available for you guys to play yet, but it's for us, for developers, to basically just see how things are going. Now, this is the interesting tidbit, is that you can build 12 of these transportation garages globally across the entire world. So the idea is that you set rules for zones in the admin center over here, and then those buses will respect the rules of each individual zone, and once that zone is empty, they'll go to other zones and help. So if you, let's say for instance, I'll just do a quick little test here, is that let's, after this engineer, actually I'll build another engineer. We're going to build like two, and we're going to put them on the little bird and just kind of get him out there because we're gonna probably want some security so Chelsea doesn't come over and like fuck me. But because of how it's programmed, I can really quickly just put like a quick little transportation garage right here. Now keep in mind this mesh is still very whip. It's early. It's not finished yet. The final one's gonna be a little bit smaller. It's only gonna house one, but I can effectively just build a couple of transportation garages. They're very rough, like right here. If I can rotate it properly. And then another transportation garage over here. And then another transportation garage here. And then wait for those to come online. Now, once those come online, I will be able to manage those zones and essentially tell the buses to start bussing people in for evacuation. So I'm going to turn on this zone for evacuation. We still have that as a limit of 2. I'm going to tell the helicopters to basically start heading over from the LHA-6. They're going to start coming over. They just spawned. They're going to land. They're going to get ready to go. But there's still like, here comes some people. They're flooding in. I'm going to go ahead and click over here. And let's see. I'm going to basically build a holding center just to kind of show that off. We have that new mesh in for basically a 2x5 cage system for basically being able to have larger quantities of people that are in quarantine instead of placing individual cages. We have a new like fabricated structure essentially. When it finishes, you'll see what I mean. It's waiting some final animation and graphical assets to basically make it to where like everything moves and the lights don't update right now based off of like those lights change based off of infection status. So if the holding cell detects someone that's dirty or infected, it'll light changes. And then you can also see the little disc on spinning and whatnot. So this will be like a little cage holding cell block. If you had that ROE on, they would go in there and essentially just kind of go through a quarantine to kind of see like, okay, like where are you in terms of like infection level. So you can see right here, we have a little bus right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose, well, Treasure Island is already evacuating. We're going to click here. We're gonna do buses only. And we're gonna do buses only. Now this still requires a little bit of finessing here and there. We're gonna have to correct that a little bit there for that logic. But now if I go over here and I set those zones, so this is Bradwick Parkway, you guys can kind of see the issue is that we potentially need to add a search too. Kind of curious what you guys think about that. But if I find Treasure Island, go to Bradwick Parkway, and I tell them to go to Treasure Island Dockyard, then essentially they will start coming over from buses. See, the bus just started moving. And now he's going to start grabbing people in this zone first. And once this zone is empty, if other zones nearby have evacuation rules, he'll go over and help them. So it's a team effort. Now you can see right now, I need to basically set the Glen Military Barracks to the same setting. And then we also added it so if you click this button right here, it's supposed to bring up the widget, but we got a bug there. It's clicking this is supposed to cycle through all your civilian administration structures. And I noticed that it's not really bringing up the widget there. So that's a bug we got to fix going into tonight. But anyhow, if I go to Glen Military Barracks, see right there, Simon's Loop is now yellow. So now you know that level is infected. You don't have to move the camera around and try and figure out which zones are, to what infection level and where Chelsea is. It makes it a little bit easier to know what's going on. So if I choose Glen Military Barracks and I choose Treasure Island Dockyard and I turn on the night vision because I'm blind, then essentially they're going to get moving as well. Looks like that bus already took off and is helping nearby zones. So you can see that, like, the buses are coming in, they're busing them into the civilian administration zone, and then they drop them off, and then they're basically managed by, like, the helicopters coming in. I don't really have any holding cell rules right now. I know personally that essentially, like, the holding cells don't really have a purpose right now in this because I'm not evacuating from a yellow or a red or an orange. Now, if I went to, say, let's see here. Let's say I went to Simon's Loop and I built an evacuation center here, then I would have to scan everyone coming in. At that point, I have to make sure I have infrastructure and I have rules to start scanning and processing people. Because essentially, those people are going to have a percentage chance of coming in infected. Coming on when they land on your aircraft carrier, they'll turn and then they'll beeline to your deck and kill everyone. So you figure that's kind of how that's going to work out. Well, that's already kind of how it works out right now. It's just essentially, I know right now this is a clean zone, clean area. Um, but anyhow, yeah, and then you can see that right now I definitely need to build some more helipads because there's just not enough. Now, the one thing is that you figure we're still working out some bugs, basically just kind of like people being fast enough of getting, because we refactored the whole system. We reprogrammed a lot of the underlying way this works, because when we have to shift things around, it's not just like Lego pieces. We have to rewrite and refactor a lot. So you figure we have to just kind of do a little more testing to make sure that the evacuation is as efficient as it can be in terms of its implementation. I'm gonna have to put some more helipads in. Obviously, we're going to be putting it in the next 24 to 48 hours of having it to where each helipad can have a second helicopter you can build, and they'll switch out in teams. So when one's landing, the other one's going to be dropping off on the LHA-6, and when one leaves the LHA-6, the other one takes off on the helipad. So it'll be a green light, red light system. So that way you can kind of keep your flow control, keep your flow going constantly for people that are doing evacuations, and that way it keeps fat. It's really fast. I definitely need to add on some more helipads because you can see I am at like now the helipads, and I think what was it? A couple cats were talking about this recently. I think Mana and a couple other people on the public Discord is now the biggest limitation to fish to speed is the helicopters, which is a good problem to have because look at all these people I have here. And because I don't have a holding bay, they're just going to sit around and meander. So, and then the holding bay asset, this is a placeholder. We're getting a new asset done. It'll realistically look like it'll house 100 people because we upped this baby to 100 in the last experimental. So you didn't have to build like a billion of them to just realistically play the game anymore. Like you build like 3 to 4 and you're good. And essentially, there's going to be a new asset coming in, slightly larger, and essentially it's going to just look a little bit more like lived in, a little bit more like finalized per se. We should be showing that asset off in the next 24 to 48 hours, roughly. A lot of things are going to be happening going into Thursday and Friday. It's going to be a massive, just kind of like time, like um, blitz to just kind of get everything in for the experimental this weekend. Because that's roughly what everyone's kind of aiming for, is to just kind of get it out then, so you guys can play test this, and because like some of this is still kind of buggy for like this and whatnot. But anyhow, let me build some more garages and kind of see if I can overwhelm the system and break it. So I'm going to build a garage here. I'm going to build another garage here. And then I'm going, this is the Saver Harbor, so I'm going to choose Saver Harbor if I'm not blind, and I'm going to find it correctly, and then I'm going to tell them to go to the Treasure Island Dockyards. Now, the interesting part of this is that you can now transfer populations between zones. So, like, let's say, for instance, you don't have an active evacuation point. You can still move population away from the front lines to one zone over. You don't have to use the admin center with an evacuation mindset into play. You can simply use it to basically get people out of the conflict zones that could potentially become, like you don't want to deal with the evacuation aspect, but you at least want to get them out of the war zones. So let's say, for instance, you have a huge battle, you're fighting Chelsea tooth and nail, and you want to get people out of Saver Harbor and out of Frontier Pier. Then you would go to that admin center and you would tell them to shift everyone down one zone to give you a buffer. So everyone in Saver can be told to move to Bradlock, and everyone in Frontier can be told to move to military barracks. And then at that point, essentially, you can start to shift people away. So if you lose the territory, you have to basically cede it. It's not as big of a deal, essentially, because essentially Chelsea's not going to be gaining people, at least not as many people, depending on if you decide to just bust everyone south. And then maybe later on, you're like eventually doing evacuations, or you could do a flow where it's like here to here to here, or here to here to here to there. If you really want to do that, and theoretically that's longer than just going here to here, or here to here, or here to here. And you can see that now the buses have icons. You can't select them, but it's now a lot easier from a top-down perspective to track to see what's going on with the units. Where are they? And then there's a couple more things that I want to talk about that are coming in the next couple of days. So, one, buses are going to have 4 garrisonable slots that you can essentially assign anyone to: an engineer, an assault, winters, a spec ops, and every time that bus stops, those 4 guys are going to exit the vehicle and provide security. Right before the bus is told to start moving, they'll get back on that bus and they'll go wherever they're going to go. So then that way, it'll be like a pseudo guard system You guys are going to be getting the guard feature regardless, so you're going to be able to click on this and hit guard. We're going to be, when we get rid of this zone button down here, we're going to add another icon right here, basically in this bottom right corner, so you can have a guard, because we're going to have to make our command buttons larger. But it'll be okay, because when we get rid of this little thing, it'll free up some more space, and we'll be able to have more abilities and more features we can give you guys in terms of like abilities and whatnot that we can deploy on units. And you can see right now that guy is under attack. Oh, he just fell through. He got hit so hard he fell through the map. We still got bugs to fix. Well, good thing this is caught on Twitch, because we're gonna have to figure out what the hell happened there. And then I'm assuming, yep, I just buy another. That was fun. Again, we're gonna be releasing this pretty soon, but we got bugs to work out because it looks like something hit him, and then he flew to the floor with via some kind of physics bug. And I just had to buy another one. Theoretically, everyone that was on board was lost at sea. So they're dead, but shit happens. The other thing I would say that I'm still debating is having a pause button. So if you want a bus to stop for people to get in later on, and we do like the garrison thing, you could do that. That's something that I've been thinking about doing is essentially adding in some kind of pause feature. So if you want this bus to wait before it like goes to another block down, or you want to like wait to get people up to it, and then you want to resume its job, I'm thinking that's a good quality of life that we should just sneak in the last couple of days. So you just highlight it and then be a pause button, and then that way you can pause like 3 or 4 buses if you're doing like a conflict zone or you don't want them to go into this next city block that has their juggernaut in it for fuck's sakes or something, you know? So I'm curious what you guys have to think about that in terms of potentially a pause feature. Um, and then definitely the only thing that yeah, I mean, the only thing at this point is basically just kind of getting it in your hands the next couple of days and just kind of going from there. I think that we're going to go in the direction of adding a search feature for these. I'm going to write that down because some people in chat said they would like that. So let me write that down as a search feature for the drop down admin center. So we'll get a search feature in. Somebody can go up here maybe, and then we'll have to give this back to a concept artist. He'll have to go back over this window and make it look a little more sexy. Because in the day, obviously, we did not plan to have a drop down, and it shows. In terms of like there's a little weird little magnifying glass here, like a little drop down. We can make that look a little bit better in the future. So we'll give that over to a concept artist. Let's see. So I guess let me pop back over and just kind of see how they're doing. I'm gonna build some more helipads. Yeah, they're definitely at capacity constantly. So, and you know what? Let me go ahead. Oh, I already built the holding bay. Yeah, there's like 75 people in the holding bay, plus like there's like probably 40 to 50 people down there. So yeah, this is a very huge output. Like we already have what 3,400 people evacuated in the first day, and theoretically, I'm not even playing that efficiently because I should have built all 6 helipads right off the get-go. I've been a little bit faster because I'm talking. I'm not being as efficient as I should be. So I'm just gonna rush these guys in a little bird and just kind of build some defenses up north so I don't get like fucked by when Chelsea decides to send over a raiding party. So they'll go over there and cut her off when she decides to send a raiding party eventually. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of what you're seeing? Do you guys have any suggestions or other things that you guys would want to see when it comes down to just the evacuation? So the goal is I want to wrap this up, and this is kind of like our first little way of just kind of showing the new system. Vehicle turning is going to be garbage until we get the vehicle AI. I'm just going to be honest. It's terrible. Like vehicles turn on a dime. They're not right now. It works. It's serviceable, but we're not going to be touching vehicles until this is done. And then before we do the circuit of doctrine stuff, we need to do the new vehicles and figure out what we're going to be able to do to essentially make them feel better and be able to drive better for when the operator takes control later on. Um, the way to set an evacuation setting while zoomed out to the new. Oh, so you want to be able to essentially, when you're zoomed out here, you want to be able to manage stuff from the 3D world map, is what you were suggesting? Okay. The 2 helicopters per helipad is not in yet. That's gonna be going in tonight, going into tomorrow. Like we're though we got the hardest things to do was what I'm already showing you right now. The rest is gonna be pretty much just time consuming, but it's like really fast to do. Like it's not as complicated as dealing with all the bugs with this. So that's coming, and we'll have that in the experimental that we release either Friday night or Saturday morning, depending on just how the workload goes. Um, so this mesh that I have is a dirty little placeholder that we got from some like really old asset pack that we're just using to kind of get the idea across of an open design. The final mesh is going to be an open design like this, but it's going to be smaller and more compact. And the idea is that when they don't have anything to do, they'll come back and park there, and it'll be just enough to fit one. So this is a placeholder. We'll have something to show. That transportation garage asset hasn't been started yet, so that's why we put this in instead instead of the ugly little block square we were using. So that one will be next week, I would say, for the transportation garage, is we'll have a more final asset. That's yeah. Um, how do I know which side of the front of the bus garage is on? Let me think about that. Well, you're not gonna know for this because this is more of just a place to return back and a place to manage the bus. So then that way, because right now, if I click on that, it will allow. Realistically, this needs to be zone based and not bus station based. This is a holdout from the legacy system from last week. Is that this needs to go bye bye. That needs to be put into the admin center. So when you go to the admin center down here, you need to be able to click on it, and there needs to be a button that basically says like evacuation rules, and it would say like buses, people, full exodus, and it'll be a drop down here. You'd be able to set that on every province because it makes no sense. And again, it's a legacy thing to have it on each transportation garage. It just doesn't work that way. You just need to be able to set it on a zone basis, and then they do the rest, and then you just oversee it. Um, Where are you talking about? Well, your build on experimental is old, so you're gonna have those bugs. This is a build that literally was cooked an hour ago. The build on experimental is from last Friday, Thursday. Incredibly buggy. Our first draft on it, and we changed so much between now and then that it's like, as you can see, it's a completely different system now. It's a lot more streamlined in terms of being able to manage multiple zones, only having two of the admin centers you can build, and so on and so forth. So keep in mind, the way you're playing an experimental is nowhere near close to what we have going on in this version of it now. So here, let me pull up over here. There was a question earlier someone had. Oh, that was in Russian. I can't read Russian. If someone wants to translate that, that'd be great, but I don't know Russian. So whoever keeps writing things in Russian, I'm so sorry. I don't know what you're saying. Um, co-op. The plan was for October, but it just kind of depends on if something else needs to be changed or manipulated. Because I mean, I wasn't planning on going in and changing all this, but then there was so much feedback that we got that it was like it needed to happen. And the same thing for the vehicle AI. That needs to happen before we put the Abrams and the Striker in because it's crappy. The current vehicle movement. I hate it. Like when you watch vehicle, like I love the vehicles when it comes down to the combat, but when it comes to their movement, it's very cumbersome. Like there needs to be a system where like they can pulse other vehicles nearby and they can ramp each other's speeds down so they don't constantly go inside of each other. And like other weird things. When vehicles go inside of each other, when one gets hit, both of them get hit. Because we do radial AoE attacks for the infected, for the juggernaut, for the Leviathan. So it actually decreases their survivability when they're so close to each other. Because one hit will hit multiples, and it's a sweep attack. So it's one of those things where it's like we need to kind of fix cleaning up a couple other things, and then we need to finish this, get the evacuation where it needs to be, make sure everyone's happy with it, move on to the vehicles, spend the time needed to make the vehicle AI sexy, and then immediately just slam in the Abrams and the other new units and just literally are sitting on our SDK, but we haven't put them in yet because we want to make sure they actually are functioning right. Um, so let me see any other questions. Uh, the answer to your question about the new infected types is yes. So how it's going to basically trickle, it's going to be a trickle down effect, I guess you could say, where we're going to give you guys a bunch of new toys, and then right after we give you guys all the new toys, we're going to go and we're going to buff the infected. We're going to give them better AI. We're going to give them better submutations. We're going to improve the Lieutenant AI. We're going to improve Chelsea's AI. So the idea is that they actually are a threat. Because you think they can be a threat sometimes right now, but it's all just luck of they just get really really lucky in terms of their timing or other outside variables, or you just it's just random, and it's like it needs to be more predictable, it needs to be more controllable. No, we're not para-dropping the Abrams. That's why we built these airfields. The C5 Galaxy is going to come in and land. So what we're going to do is this structure right here is going to be clickable and claimable. You have to come here, you have to claim this air control tower. It's going to be redone. And then there's another air control tower here. So you have to come and you have to claim one of these 2 points. And then once you claim one of those 2 points, or even both of them, and then you'll be able to build super units that basically get brought in via a C5 Galaxy. It'll land, offload them, and then it leaves. And the Apache will be moved over to these as well. Instead of just flying in and arriving out from Narnia, it's going to be classified as a super weapon for late game as well. And it will be basically buffed quite a bit to make it a little more reliable. Yes, the utilization center does work. The problem is that it's very, very hard to get infected people in the current version of the game unless you're actively going out of your way to evacuate out of red or yellow zones. If you're evacuating from green zones, the chance of getting someone that actually needs to be euthanized is like remote. Unless you're a dick and you just do that. Oh, I haven't built one yet. Then you can just start euthanizing everyone. That's up to you though, because then eventually every time you euthanize someone, it R&D rolls reputation loss, where it's like, oh, someone heard about that. Little Timmy went missing, and little Timmy had a family. So now little Timmy's family is like discovers that you killed him. So then it's like the idea is that not every single euthanization kill basically affects your morale, but after a while it stacks and it stacks and it stacks to the point where everyone will openly hate your guts. And then like neutral people will immediately go to red and well then you got people wanting to murder you. Um, but you can see right here just generally how the system works. It's a lot with the new system. It's a lot harder for the buses to overlap and kind of get stuck inside of each other. Um, I would definitely say we need to do a little bit of profiling and optimization before we release that because you can. Well, what we'll probably end up doing is we'll release it on Friday, Saturday, then we'll do some optimization and cleanup work Monday, Tuesday, because you can see the frame rates dip into 42. So we definitely have some kind of system running in the back end that's a little bit more expensive than it needs to be. And I have a couple of ideas of what that actually is. So we'll be cleaning that up going into the weekend, going into next week to kind of get you guys some performance tweaks. Because the idea would be release it on Friday, take about 2 to 3 days of bug fixes, adjustments, feedback, and then shove it over to normal branch and then essentially go from there. So you figure, yeah, again, this is like really, really raw, so it requires some optimization. It requires some looking at. Because if I had to guess, there's definitely some kind of optimization issue going on. And then on top of that, it also has a new prototype ragdoll system that we put in that essentially makes it to where we turned off the death animation. So odds are there's probably an issue with that system. Let me see. I'm just curious. I know sometimes if you save and reload, it lowers the frame rate. I'm curious if it's what I think it is. Yeah, the frame rate goes higher. So it was ragdolls. Yeah, if I had to guess, it was the ragdolls. I need to go and check do some corrective logic for that later tonight, tomorrow. Okay, well, yeah, because now it's a 9880. So there's an object that's being created. It's not being garbage collected. If I had to guess, it's probably some of the dead bodies too in the ragdoll. So I gotta do some investigation and some profiling when I'm done during the live stream and see basically what's going on there. So before it gets to you guys. So that in a nutshell essentially how everything's working. And then you can see as people come over, they just occupy buildings. Sometimes they try and just kind of linger around the civilian administration zone or the holding area, but sometimes they'll still kind of like run into a building if they're outside for too long. But yeah. Ooh, well, keep in mind, Debbie, there's still a shit ton of optimization that needs to happen. Like, we never get to actually go the full extent of optimization, R&D, and figuring it all out because we're constantly having to juggle optimization, bug fixes, new features, and mechanics. It's constantly a juggling act. So we are only able to band-aid and kind of fix things to a certain degree before there's a certain expectation that we need to move on to the next line item. We need to get the next roadmap item out. So it's going to kind of be that situation, I would argue, until all the main features and all the systems are baked in, I would argue, around 1.3 going into the co op. And then we'd have to stabilize it and basically optimize it even more so because the game has to run twice as performant for co op, I would argue. Just so that it's just easier to work with because we don't want networks and the computers being choked out when we like because then you have replication and then you introduce the computer being choked out. That's a recipe for disaster in terms of basically just CPU calls and everything else. So it's one of those things where like we're going to be pushing that quite a bit to essentially clean up all of that. Regardless, we have to. It's inevitable. I have a piece of crap computer behind me over there. That's the mid spec computer. But I need to basically I need to hook it up again and run this build against it because that's basically the spec we have on the Steam store. It's like an i7 fourth generation processor, 16 gigs of RAM, 1060, blah blah blah. And the idea is I run it on there to try and maintain at least 30 frames per second, and then I run it on the recommended spec just to see what that's running. And then that way it gives me a baseline to like figure out do we need to do more optimization. So I'm going to be doing that as well going into the end of the week to see if I can like basically identify some issues like what you saw earlier where I saved and reload and my frame rate doubles and it stabilizes because there's an object being created dynamically. And if I had to guess, it's most likely Chelsea waging war against factions over here and their dead bodies are piling up because we made a change this build where dead bodies and corpses stay. So they'll stay for up to 360 seconds or up to 120. So now battles are more persistent and they seem more like lively. So like if I go to one of my save files from let's say yesterday that I was testing, you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about because it's like what that was one thing is we need to kind of improve the ragdolls, kind of like Dawn of War if anyone's played Soulstorm, Winter Crusade, is that it adds a lot of life. Actually, what the hell is that vehicle doing? Everyone look away. I don't know what it was doing. That was wild. Okay, let me send that vehicle home. And then I think I have I have evacuations going on over here. But this one won't work. Old save files are not going to work with this new evacuation system because you can see like right now everything just shuts down. No one knows what to do because you figure like it's a whole new rule set for basically like dictating when to evacuate and when not to. So just keep in mind you're gonna have to like delete all like right here it's saying like I can't place a new one down. There's already one built. So I'd have to destroy you. And then, yeah, here's my active evacuation point. Oh, they're working to a certain degree. 'Cause I was playing out of this area and evacuating, but there's only going to be one garage, so it's not going to be that efficient. What is going on over here? Hold on. Do I have my audio off? Oh yeah, I did. I was wondering what's going on there. Well, it's easier for you guys to hear me, but yeah, let me see if I can kill him. So you'll see when he dies now. The idea is that like the actual dead body or the corpse will stay there longer, and I think that's causing a performance issue I need to track down. But you can see the same thing over here where that car is on smoke, and the same thing for like them. is that the infected and the people will stay longer in the world, and essentially just try and like help fill it out more. Like if we killed that juggernaut, he's not going to disappear immediately. He's going to stay. I need to fix that. And basically populate the space. Let me see if I can jump over here. I don't think I have any war units. No, I don't. All I have is the Apaches. But that's enough to kind of show you guys what I did anyway. So let's grab the boys. Or let's do a drive-by.
A base building is being damaged.
And then you can kind of see like all the bodies just kind of build up. Birds are not so much affected because they die individually and they kind of ragdoll like that. The birds are, yeah, they're not going to really do that much. But I'll do a drive-by over here so I can show you guys some kind of death and destruction. Oh, look, there's a juggernaut. Goodbye.
Facility is damaged.
Get deleted. Let's see if I can find something to shoot.
Been damaged.
I had just came through here. I think this is a live stream that I was doing last week where I like pacified this entire zone. Let me go over here.
Damaged.
Let me answer that question about the operator in just one moment. Let me just move these guys so they don't get nerked. Okay.
Warning. The base is under attack.
So here we go. We go over here. And then you guys can see just generally like as I kill these infected.
A base
Murder
structure
him.
has been damaged.
Thank you. You can see like the dead bodies actually stay. I still have some tweaks to do to just kind of push the optimization more. The Unreal Engine does not like a lot of ragdolls. Like it literally has a seizure and breaks down and explodes. So I need to do some more research and some more tweaks to just kind of get a little more out of the system before you guys get a chance to play it.
Building is being
But
damaged.
I do like it because I was a really big Dawn of War, Soulstorm, Winter Crusade, uh, like guy, and having the dead bodies actually makes a lot of difference in terms of like essentially just having atmosphere of like a battle actually happened
The base
here.
is under
You
attack.
know, if your vehicles get destroyed and the whole convoy gets killed, the whole convoy is on smoke and it's on
The base
fire,
is under
and
attack.
it stays. So it looks cool. So then that way you're like, oh well, that's where I got my, that's where I got rammed in. So, then you have a better idea of like we can kind of like fight to retake that area if you really want to. The bodies don't have collision, so they don't affect gameplay. But you can at least see what I mean here, where it's like now if you push through here with infantry, you can see all the dead bodies, and it just looks better in my opinion in terms of the atmosphere. And what I was gonna do is I was gonna make it configurable. We were talking about that in the public Discord earlier today, of essentially making it to where you can set the maximum amount of bodies that are allowed in the game world at any given time, via um 30 to
Base is
200,
under attack.
and then you can set the how long they stay regardless. And the idea is that once it hits the maximum amount of bodies, it starts deleting the oldest ones. And then once the time runs, it just deletes them regardless. Because you can't have bodies forever in the world in this engine. It does not like that. Based off of the sheer amount of people in the world, the game, we're already pushing this engine pretty goddamn far in terms of like its limitations,
Warning. The base is under attack.
especially for CPU cost. But anyhow, let me answer that question you had. So you had a question about co-op and the operator. Um, I think the thing you got to realize about that is that, and this is something I was actually talking to some of our developers earlier, like 2 weeks ago, about, is that there's still going to be things that we're going to have to clean up with the operator just so it's serviceable and it's not like really, really bad. So like when we say the operator card, we're talking like deep progression, weapon unlocks, like things that basically make it a mini game on its own. We're gonna have to, regardless, when we do the replication and the co-op code for, say, hold on, let me turn down the audio because that notification's being spammed. Let's say we do the replication and the code for like little Timmy here, this assault. Well, they all are hold on. They all are derived from the same base logic of shooting, moving, taking damage. They're all from the same child class. So the idea is just by replicating the base game, we already replicate the operator. So that means that the only thing we have to do is just to make sure that the possessions are taking place correctly. But that means that as the operators, as they stand right now, would be working. It just wouldn't be like all the progression and all the subsystems that we wanted to put in there to make it more like a Resident Evil or like a Division in terms of like fleshed out. It's not as gimmicky. So like let me just kind of possess the operator so I can show you what I'm talking about. Because like him throwing a grenade right here is the same way that like an operator would throw a grenade. It spawns the grenade in his hand, it throws it based off of a trajectory. So there's a lot of similarities where like just by doing replication for one character, it kind of does it for everyone. See, oh, it is that crash. Let me write that down. I've been trying to get it to crash like that for the better part of like a week, and it crashes in probably the worst possible time when I was trying to show something else. Because like that crashes, that random fire crash when you burn something alive. Uh, the object gets deleted too early, and then it's nothing to damage, so that it crashes the engine instead. So I have to hunt down that code and rewrite it functionally or something. Let me pull these Apaches back. I think it's their secondary attack that basically is causing the issue because they have like AoE explosive rounds. So I think it's applying a debuff of fire or like a burning them, and then it causes that to happen. Yeah, I need to basically hunt down that crash and permanently fix it. It's been on my to-do list, and I all I have is a theory of what's going on. So I'm never watching it when it exactly crashes, but I know it's related to fire and explosive ammo. Oh, now it's happening constantly. Hold on. Huh. So something got hit. It took fire damage. That's weird. Yeah, the Arties have a secondary like attack of they have explosive rounds. So then that way it applies like a debuff of burning them alive per se. I'm gonna just test something. This is kind of weird. I'm gonna basically set my Apaches to not shoot anymore, so I can see if the crash stops. Can you? I just hope that it's not gonna just fix randomly, because that's the problem when people send us files sometimes. Is they fix randomly and then we're screwed. Anyway, let me just see if I can build little Timmy here, so I can show what I was originally going to show. I told the Apaches to stop shooting. If it stops crashing when they leave and fuck off to the north, that lets me know that I know how to recreate them. It's just by building a crap ton of Apaches and putting them into like a war zone. Anything explosive should have a fire debuff, and that should be what's causing it. Because it's a fire, it's a constant like it's burning them alive. Like it's simulating that the unit that took the damage is on fire, and instead of applying all the damage in that one tick, it applies it over time of like 3 to 5 seconds. So it's a little bit more complicated. It's like a more realistic version. See, like it didn't crash that time because they fucked off over there. So it's related to the Apaches and something that they're doing, some kind of interaction between most likely their probably their cannons. It's probably the cannons. Whoever set those, yeah, I had to check that. So here, let me let's see. Let me go to the operator. Oh, I didn't even call him in. I'm stupid. I'm like, I was like, wait, where's the operator? I didn't call him in yet. The helicopters are going to begin. We're not going to touch that right now, but I'm trying to take this sequentially. Evacuations, ground vehicle driving, then get all the new vehicles in that are ground based, then worry about the helicopters. See what needs to be done with them. Look at their weapons, and then from there it'd be airstrikes and non-mechanized. Because we have a whole series of airstrikes that we want to add in. That are most of them are already done. But anyhow, let me get back to that one cat's question. So you can kind of see like this is the current operator, and he's okay. He's not terrible, but you figure there's a lot that we still want to do with them in terms of like fleshing them out here. So it's like it's basically the idea would be is that the base minimum that we do to kind of make this a little more viable, give it a better camera, give her a better melee, because that melee is kind of weird. And then basically just improving her HUD, that will come over to co-op regardless. We have to do that regardless. It's gonna be like stats, weapon unlocks, attachments, things that make the operator to where you can really just kind of like play it all day. Like in this implementation, it'll probably just only be like your four players just jumping into an operator every once in a while. Um, because I feel like if we did the operator in its entirety to the level I wanted to do, then it would take probably at least it would take at least probably 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, as I would argue, because everything's already been prototyped in the little CPO thing we were playing with. So theoretically, we have to just copy and paste the code over, correct the logic of new bugs and things that occur, and then just kind of go from there. So, I mean, if we're ahead and like literally we magically get ahead, then I would do it. And I just basically just fix the operator app. But it just kind of comes down to where are we 2 to 3 months out from October? Because you figure once this like evacuation stuff is like tied up and I put it on a bow, throwing it out the door, and we're immediately just shifting every resource over the vehicles. Because then we have to get that new vehicle AI out and playable on experimental, ideally within a week of whatever we'll decide, wherever we're gonna functionally do. Have you guys play test it, and then the good part is that once we get the vehicle driving AI done, the vehicles are already in the game. Every vehicle that has to be put into the game is already in the game engine. It's just a matter of converting them over to that new setup and then perfecting, like, doing some corrections with their AI here and there. Because, like, you guys saw the Bradley, you saw the Apache, I posted that in the public Discord. They work, but the coaxial machine gun on the main smoothbore isn't completely reliable yet. The Bradley tow is on the Bradley, but it doesn't work. So it's like that's like 2 to 3 hours of work of getting the tow working, looking at the smoothbore gun, making sure that weapon's targeting correctly, and whenever the smoothbore target's at, the 50 cal has to target at within a certain degree arc only. Like it can't, it's only just gonna shoot within whatever is in that little circle that the smoothbore is firing at. So it's one of those things where it's like it's gonna be pretty quick, I would hope, after we get the vehicle AI in, because the vehicle AI is really what's gonna be what breaks it. The helicopter AI, I don't think is gonna be nowhere near as complicated because we already have a really good framework of like, let's say for instance, I tell little Timmy here to go, this idiot will just like turn to the left and like skid, and like it needs to have like that's pretty simple. That's just a line trace that determines, oh, player wants me to move here. Before I start moving, go all the way up, then go forward. You know, like that kind of stuff where there's like logic that evaluates your move order and tries to find things that basically are like what's going to affect my mobility of speed. So it's like stuff like this I would argue is not that complicated. Like I would argue one of the hardest things that we've done is the civilian evacuation and the aircraft carrier because it pushes the engine to its limits, and on top of that it's very complicated. Like civilian evacuation is very complicated. It's one of the most complicated systems we've ever written. So, because again, the whole game has to do it for you, and all you do is you just give checkboxes, and it just autonomously does it for you. Um, the MRS is in the engine. It's not set up to shoot, but that's like a 2 to 3 hour ordeal to get that set up. That's what I mean. Like everything is in the. The only one that's not in the engine right now is the Volcano Atlas system, where basically it's modeled, but it's sitting in a back burner for someone to basically, because we basically we took this and we essentially stripped it out so that it was just a transport capability, and then you have like a volcano mine thrower, and we're getting rid of the individual mines. So then that way you could just it'll be like you zone an area and then I just deploy mines to that area is the idea. So yeah, I don't have the MRS to show right now. If I had to show it, I would have showed it already. That requires a programmer to go in there and do that. So it's like that is because the other vehicles, a technical artist could go in and set them all up, but they require an AI programmer to come in and apply about 2 to 3 hours of work just to put the icing on the cake. Um, so you guys are asking about So you guys asking about vehicles unloading in terms of like, what's the? I don't think there's a game that does that. So you're talking about in terms of like if I have a striker, instead of them coming out on any side of the striker, they would come. The back door would open on the striker, and they would come out of the back of the striker. That's what you're asking for, right? Or like the Chinook, the back door would open, and they get shoved out the back door. Just to clarify. That's what you're talking about. Is that the same person that asked? That was Devil, but I'm assuming that's what he's asking. So, yes, we want to do it. I just don't know when the best time to squeeze it in there. It's a nice thing to have. I agree with you that when you have a little bird, like a little little Timmy over here, and if I move him over and you basically just tell people to get out, it is very cumbersome to basically select people. Like if I'll just demonstrate just so people know what we're talking about here, is that like when you tell them to get out like this, they all just kind of blob out. Like I feel like they need to get off the seat and then move a couple feet away. Like the minimum would be the selection radius for the unit. So you can see the selection units like you can't even select this guy here because the selection radius of the sparrow is so large. So it's like redoing some of the selection radiuses so it's more form fitting, but at the same time having it to where like when these guys get off, like when they're on that swoop, they get off the swoop and they move. So it'd be like almost like a flow control, where it would be like people, these guys get out first, then the people inside the little bird get out, and it would just be either a preset animation from every seat or it'd be a lerp, like in the case of like the LCAC or the aircraft carrier or the Chinook, where it'd be as simple as just playing one animation and they just get out in order where it's like row, 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 row. And the idea for the Chinook is that if the people that are in the front move the furthest out, and the people that are in the back move the shortest out, and then they would make a column when they're out of the Chinook, is the idea. But outside of the extent of the selection box for the Chinook. So it's one of those things where. Who's calling me? I don't know whose number that is. So it's one of those things where it's on a wish list for me. Like it's not mission critical right now, but it's something that I'm gonna find a way of squeezing it in forcibly at one time or another, because I want to be able to have it to where when you're on the Atlas, people will just jump out of the site door. You know, like so if you have an Atlas, a transport Atlas, like where are they? Am I blind? Yeah, the Atlas, like you. So if you have something like this, basically, you can have it where they can get out on the sides or they can go orderly in the back. You know, and then you maybe have two different options of like a fast exit or a quick or a slow exit, if depending on like if people are on the side of your atlas or they're in the back of it. That kind of stuff. And then that would fit into what I want to do for the operator, where like long term I want to have the operator where it kind of handles like an armor control, like an armor person, where they can switch between seats. They can take control of the vehicle. They can take control of the turret. You know, like that kind of stuff. And that's what I mean by like an operator card for the guy's previous question. Is I want to make it where like it feels like Battlefield or Call of Duty when you're controlling the vehicle. What in the fuck? God damn it! Get out of here! No one likes you. You're adopted. Always fucking with my shit. What are those Apaches that I told to go fuck off in Narnia? Go ride on this guy. You are needed. Oh wait, I accidentally gave them a move order on top of themselves. Yeah, let's just I'll just leave it on them so they can go murder that Leviathan because Apaches make quick work of Leviathans. Um, Panther, have you seen the screenshots that we put on the Discord for what we plan on doing with the Little Bird and the Blackhawk? We're just gonna make it the automated turrets like in GTA. So the idea is that like they just turn and swivel based off of whatever target they currently have is the idea. If you look through our announcements, we have a whole backlog of essentially that kind of stuff on there. So that's going to come sequentially is like when we get to the airborne assets, we're going to go through and just kind of get that. Did he just come and spit and then fuck off? No manners. Whatever. Okay, that's fun. Oh, that's where he is. There's a bird group over there, probably spreading their nest everywhere. Let me go tell Shawnee to go say hello. Um, so anyhow, yeah, that's pretty much what we're kind of doing for the evacuations, and you figure I'm really excited to kind of get you guys to play it and see what kind of feedback you guys have, just to kind of go from there. I think at this point we just going to kind of get it in your guys' hands in the next 2 to 3 days. I think that it's gonna look a lot better based off of the feedback that you guys are giving me from like this live stream because I'll get the search in, um, and then you figure we'll get the double selection. There's like 2 or 3 line items on that ping that still aren't in, and then from there, I don't know, I don't have a solution yet for being able to manage a zone from up here, like being able to click on a zone and like do stuff from. I don't know about that yet. I gotta think about that. That's more of a technical thing, and what's the best way of accomplishing that. Right now, we're going to be aiming for just having the division type text on the 3D map, and then we'll go from there and see how it's received and adjust accordingly. Um, let me see. Are there any other questions that you guys want to see about the evacuation? Any questions, any concerns about just what we're planning on doing for the evacuation stuff? Because my goal is to try and wrap this up. So if you guys have any suggestions or ideas, now would be the best time to speak since you have me here. And again, you guys saw the experimental admin center. I'm still going to be deciding in the next day if it's going to be a wall blueprint or is it going to be a replacement for the civilian administration center. Because you figure, like realistically, in this example, I could have it to where you build this, and then right here you could place down that structure that I showed you guys earlier. This one, and this would be the entrance point, and you would face that towards. Let me see here. Oops. You would face that towards this direction, and then you just close off these two sides of walls. And then if you have one of those in a zone, instead of going here, they report there, and then they go to whatever division they have to go to. Do the buses have headlights? I mean, do you guys really want headlights for the buses? We just didn't put it in there because we were so busy with everything else. I mean, they have lights, they just don't have headlights. We didn't bother putting them in, honestly. Cruise missiles? Not right now. Like, yeah, we're going to be adding like a couple of new airstrikes when we get to the airstrike section of the Circuit Doctrines revamp stuff. But for right now, let's leave it with what's already planned and go from there. Um, because I mean, there were some discussions of having it to where you could build Harriers or Predator drones from the LHA-6, and if I have my way, we'll try and sneak that in there for the end of the Cirque Doctrine stuff. That's only if we somehow get caught up, because we're already behind 2 to 3 weeks. Because we were supposed to be done with the vehicles, the ground vehicles, yesterday, but then the civilian evacuation and everything else, it needed the attention to detail. It needed a little bit more leaven. So we had to make the change. We make the switch and then pivot. Um, Holding cells. Well, the lights change based off of occupied and infected. Now, right now, I mean, they're not really going to be doing anything because I don't have any rules. Like, I know how the game plays, so I don't have it on. Like, unless you're evacuating, like, if I go here, you can see there's a yellow point. So if I started evacuating from this point here, I would definitely be getting people that are infected. And if I evacuate from here, like 100% sure. Like whoever's still alive, there's 13,000 people in there. If I rushed in there with 4 or 5 bus stations, and I did not have any DNA scanners or anything like that, it would be a shit show. You'd be evacuating like 40% infected, 50% infected, maybe even higher, depending on how much the game hates you that day. Yes. Let's see. Any other questions? Any other concerns before I wrap up the stream? 'Cause I was gonna basically take down some notes and go from there. Let's see. No. No nuke. Okay, let me see. Is there anything else? The nuke is the lost condition. When everything's said and done and we get our polish in there, when you die, when the aircraft carrier dies, then we have a nuke go off and you get you fucked up screen come on. And then the game restarts. So a nuke is just gonna be a lost condition, which is realistically it's not even a nuke, it's a thermatic bomb. So yeah. Not exactly what you're looking for, but close enough. Um Okay, well, I guess as always, I'll have to basically put this as a VOD in the channel so people can discuss it later. Let's see. Is there anything else that I can kind of discuss? Do you guys have any? What do you guys think about the idea of having the prefab that I showed earlier, a wall that you can build off of, like a preset structure? Instead of replacing the admin center, you keep the admin center as your central point of administration globally, but then you get like a blueprint prefab that's basically like this that essentially centralizes all of the stuff that you would need to process. So you can click on it and you can buy scanners for your people. You can click on it and you can buy a DNA, you can buy a scanning tower, and it's automated. So you don't have to worry about building towers or building scanners individually. It takes 50 days to build. What are you talking about? I don't know what that question means. Yeah, because you figure like I think that if I'll show you, I think that we had the right idea with having the where are they? With having the infection detection tower. I think we had the right idea, but I don't think that we should keep it individually built. I think that we should potentially make it to where it's part of a prefab set that basically like is just automated. The system's automated. So the idea is that you figure the scanners and the scientists like those go away, and it would basically just be like this, where like you would have, let me zoom out. You'd have like an assaultier with a gun, and then essentially you would start without the DNA. You'd start without the towers, and we'll start without the scanners, and then you would upgrade this facility as you basically scale up on evacuations. So the idea would be is you can buy these towers for a little bit more money. You can equip those assaults that are doing intake at the front gate with a little money. And the idea is that the hand scanners are 60% efficient, and the towers are 100% efficient. Like they have no failure rate in terms of like letting people through. And yeah, that's what I'm thinking of going in a direction in. So I'm gonna wait until we get a couple more things on the ping done, and then I'll make a decision in the next 24 to 48 hours to basically like figure that out. Let me see. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what Panther's talking about. Panther Vad. Yeah, so that is basically the how we're doing the weapons for the helicopters. They're gonna be just basically side guns that we'll obviously have to go to the Little Bird and the Black Hawk and give them an AI that understands how to target. Because the Black Hawk and the Little Birds will have to face their targets. But the idea is that you figure they'll just be able to just lay into whatever's around them for a certain degree. Some of the airborne vehicles will have a pivot or like a swivel so they can look around. But we'll show more of that. Well, actually, you can get an idea of which ones swivel by going to the announcements and finding the pictures. Um, but yeah, I'm thinking that we get rid of the micromanage, we get rid of like a lot of like the babysitting, and we just automate it with like this guard intake center, and we just go that direction. And then you can build walls that snap from any one of these pylons. So you can fit it into any one of your designs, and you just basically upgrade this little checkpoint. 'Cause I know people have asked for checkpoints in the past, and I've been kind of hesitant towards it. But I think that the checkpoint paired with the admin center, I think, is the best way forward. For basically like simplifying gameplay and making it to where like you don't have to have little Timmy scientist standing there by with a hand scanner. They just walk by an automated AI that just does it for you. You don't have to build a bunch of infection defense towers and then wonder if they're working. They just go through here and the system just works. So that's what I'm thinking. So anyhow, I'm sure there will be plenty of discussion to go in terms of basically when I post this video in the announcements thread for the civilian evacuation. Let me see what minuscule is saying. Uh, Lights here will be faked, so you figure like we'll probably do some very basic like example light, very cheap like floodlight, but we're not going to be like changing the floodlights that we have right now in the project because that's more of a technical limitation. Is that you can't have too many dynamic lights. It's like crossing lightsabers, I guess. Like the more lights that you have overlapping that are dynamic, the worse your frame rate gets and your performance gets in the Unreal Engine. So we have to be very conscious in terms of like light on light pointing at the same point. So we'll have to figure that out when we do the lighting pass. Uh, any other questions about civilian evacuation? Anything else you want to bring up? Let me see what he's saying. There's bug and can you write that devil in the CP forms? And I'll get someone, if I don't look at it, someone else look at it. Just copy and paste what you wrote in Twitch to like a CP forms thread, and then basically tag me. And I will work on it, or I'll get someone else to look into that tonight or tomorrow. We're not doing door gunners. We're doing like Grand Theft Auto, more of like automated turrets that are mounted under the wings of the Black Hawk. So the Black Hawk will have. I'll just pull up the picture. 1 second. Okay, here we go. So like this, or like this. If the bloody picture would open, like those. So that's the direction we're going into. We're basically like the Black Hawk and the Little Bird, where they'll have like a little side-mounted weapon that basically just do their thing. Okay. Looks like there's no more questions. So I'm gonna get back to writing some notes down for the next for some. I have to go document all these bugs I ran into and take down time codes because I ran into quite a few. And then I'm gonna go see if I can fix that fire crash because that shit's obnoxious. At least I know that it was the Apaches this time. There's some kind of secondary attribute of fire that they're applying, and it's fucking shit up. All right. Well, it was great hanging out with all of y'all. Do basically for your question, Joka, we already said that we're gonna just have guards that you could basically assign to the buses. The buses aren't gonna have miniguns or anything like that. That's for modders to do if they want to add weapons onto the buses. Our plan for the buses are just to have it to where you could garrison up to 4 people. So you could build 4 customized assaults, 4 customized spec ops, assign them to a bus, and every time they stop, they'll have 4 points that they step out of the bus and provide security. And then when the bus is about to start moving again, they will get back in. And that's something we're going to be working on the next couple of days. We'll have more of the show going into this weekend. Because again, like I was saying, my goal is to have everything on that ping ready to be played by you guys on the experimental by ideally Friday, Saturday night. Saturday morning. Sorry. Um, Worst case, it might be one or two things missing, but we'll try our best to try and get everything on that list. Um, Let me see. Oh, weekly podcast, eh? What would you suggest we do instead for the weekly podcast? Well, we're going to be changing up that formula. So since I have you here, and you come to those quite a bit. What would you suggest? Do you because like we're going to basically be designing a podcast room that's like a 3D model room, whatever, for like Twitch or YouTube or whatever, to kind of go back to the original podcast formula that we did on YouTube, and then just trying to show a little bit more gameplay and just having like people play the game more. But any suggestions that you have other than that, I'm totally open for, Gazella. So I don't know how often you come. You probably have a different name on Discord. I don't recognize your name. Okay. Yeah, because like you figure, so when you say pause, you're talking about queuing stuff, right? Like queued building, queued build, like attack orders, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, right? Uh, what would it bind that to? What would you put that to as a problem? We already have spacebar set for playing and slow mowing. That's the problem. Yeah. I mean, I actually. So I was working on a basically a. I was R&Ding basically like a camera tool for content creators and for basically being able to make better promotional material for like our podcasts and for our dev videos. And I actually accidentally figured out a console command that allows you to pause the game and doesn't break it. And it still allows you to issue orders. It allows you to do things in gameplay. So theoretically, what you're suggesting is now possible based off of what I found out last week on accident. But the question is what key would you bind it to? And where would you put it? Would it just be like a drop down where you just like highlight the play button and then you hit pause? Or would we have to just maybe redesign the play button on the top right and do a total war approach? Where it's like it has like a play and a pause button there. Now fast forward is not in the cards. Fast forward breaks the engine. It destabilizes the physics. So right off the bat, I'm gonna nip that right in the butt. Is that right now we don't know a way of doing a fast forward reliably. It's not gonna make your game explode. It doesn't work that well. But I can do a pause now that I figured that out. So, huh. Let me think about that. I might be able to sneak that in for this weekend's experimental. That's just a ribbon thing. So I could give that graphic to someone and have them change the play button. I could have them change that icon to be a time step for the default button, and then have them put in a pause icon. I could duplicate that button. It'll look ugly initially, but it'll do the job until someone can work up a better UI for like keeping it consistent. Because yeah, okay, let me write that down. 'Cause I was actually thinking about that earlier this week. Is that see if you guys would want them like that? Let me just put that right here. So pause feature next to slow mo button. Okay, so like Zula, we're not playing right now. Sorry, my dog is like eyeing this ball. Let me just not touch the ball. Here, I'll show you guys. Come here. Oh, this is executive doggy Azula. She does all the programming when I'm sleeping. Don't worry, she'll fix all the bugs. She's the bestest. All right, executive dog Azula. All right. Let's see. All right. So, any other suggestions you guys would throw in there? Because I know we missed our last monthly AMA. I was sick on Saturday, so I don't know if this is a good time for you guys to just kind of throw out any other suggestions or ideas you guys have been thinking of, so I can write it down. Because the pause idea is good. I wrote that down. I wonder if I'm getting murdered yet. Let's go see if I'm getting more. Oh, shit. Well, Presidio's almost gone. And she's already on power plant. And the good thing about this is almost like a cheat for knowing how far they've spread. So if you're curious if birds are fucking you, or like a Leviathan is somehow tunneled in, and now he's basically about to throw a fucking jamboree in your backyard, now you can just check this and be like, oh shit, they're on power plant already. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, the neighbor is getting a lot more claustrophobic right now, the neighborhood. That's another good positive of this, is that you figure it actually makes it a lot easier to have situational awareness on the map. Because before it was like, it can be kind of hard to know like where they are at times. Okay, let's see. Any other things that it wants to bring up? Okay, the problem is the slow mo is that you must still rush to the early game and have no time to think because you cannot observe everything at the same time. When is the Destiny map coming? Never. But see, Coley, what they're talking about is that there's a distinct difference between doing this and having a key where literally everything just stops, and then you can just look around the map and think. Because some people just they want to be able to look at stats, they want to be able to look at health, they want to be able to analyze the situation and not feel rushed. Because the problem is that you probably play the game a shit ton, so you probably know the game a lot better than most other people. But I think that they're onto something for the pause feature, is it would help people that are starting out. They get overwhelmed easily. Because if you look at like our Steam reviews, a lot of people are like, no tutorial, shit, review, refund. Because they're like, they get overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. Too many things are thrown at them at one moment. And then it's like, well, shit. And they just kind of like buckle. So theoretically, having a pause goes a long way. We're basically just letting people just take a moment and reevaluate. Like if they're getting attacked over here, instead of like hitting slow mo and like your units are dying and you're having to build units, you can just tap it and then basically go to all your barracks, build a shit ton of guys, set their garrison point over here, go back over here, unpause, take control of the battle. You know reinforcements are on the way. Only thing you have to do is just hold out now. You don't have to be switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because you set the garrison, you built the units, it was paused, so your units weren't dying during the time. So I can see the appeal. Um, I'd use it based off of just a couple. I mean, I wouldn't use it all the time, but I would use it definitely enough to basically just kind of like help turn the tide of like battles where it's just every second matters. Because you guys know as well as I do, like all your units can die in a matter of like 5 seconds of this game. Like literally, this game is unforgiving when it comes to basically you making a bad maneuver or a bad move, going into the wrong situation, your positioning, walking into a gas tower, or so many things, or just pissing off Chelsea. Um, yeah, we're taking the zone cards and we're crumbling them up and we're throwing them at people. Yeah, so these right here are being deleted. We you have flamethrowers on the scientists. The scientists can get flamethrowers because you figure this was inspired from Kenshi, but it just doesn't work. Like you figure, like we did that as a placeholder from Kenshi because that was something that they did to kind of give you quick analytical information of the zone you're in. But Kenshi's a lot slower, and Cepheus Protocol is a lot faster. Where it's like go, 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 like everything's on fire, build, repair, attack. Like it's just like you have to move around. There's so many things that you're managing. There's so many provinces that you're jumping around. And in Kenshi, you maybe move a province every 10 to 20 minutes. And in our game, you're moving provinces every 5 seconds, 8 seconds. You need that information fast and quick. So that's why I feel like once you get to like this height right here, boom, text shows up. So you know all the information you need to know. And then if you want to click on the admin center, boom, information's there. You want to look up something you're not looking at, boom, it's right there. You click on your zone. You want to know where that zone is. If you're new to the game, you click on the button. And that way, everyone's happy. Everyone knows what's going on. One thing I would have to say is we should probably set it up so you can clip that. I was playing another game, whatever it was, and you could press a button here, and it would allow you to like clip it there, so it would like stay on your UI, and then basically you could like click somewhere else, and it would stay there. We need to probably consider doing something like that. It was like Park and Light. What the fuck was that game I was playing on Steam? It was Parkitect. That's what it was. Parkitect had like clippable UI windows, so then that way, if you deselected a structure, you could still manage it even if you were doing something else. Um, yeah, pitting. You got it. That's the word I'm looking of. I wonder if that's needed based off of just sometimes you probably want to pin this or be able to resize it and drag it down to a smaller window. So that way you can kind of like, okay, I want to come back to this later. Maybe if you're playing on an ultra wide, because I know a lot of people play on TVs and a lot of people play on like ultra wides, you have a huge real estate. Maybe you just want to pin it somewhere, just eyeball it, and the moment you see a zone go red, you know to start sending people over. Let me see what we got here for questions. Can you add a second radius to ammo tent for units to run back to the first radius to reload? No, no. No. Like I want you to have your hands in the game, like your skin in the game. You need to be paying attention to your units. That level of automation, I don't want to do. Like, yeah, no. I would at that point. That's why I'd add the pause, or we have the slow mo, where it's like, and that's how we also have it where icon when a group starts, like when anyone in this group starts to have low ammo, it will show an ammo icon here, and then let me go check on that group. Let me select them. Let me see what everyone's at. Let me drop an ammo box in, or let me pull in a team to come up and guard while that team goes back and resupplies, and you just basically retire them for a bit. Um, Brazen 3. So when it stagnates, how is it stagnating for you exactly? Can you like expand on that a little bit? Like how do you feel that it's stagnating? So I can just kind of address what you're seeing. And then while he writes that out, let's see. Could buses be put on rails instead of pathfinding to save on CPU? What do you mean by rails? Are you talking about like preset like preset lanes? Is what you're asking? What you're talking about? Like, so they don't pathfind. They basically just have like a spline or some kind of like object. Like when you play GTA, it is like that line in the road that tells you where to go. They just follow that. Yeah, that would make them cheaper, but it also it would make them cheaper. But I don't know if they would look better. I don't know. Because the problem is that you figure that a level designer has to go to every road, every every alley, every section, and make a system that basically connects. And then on top of that, we have to write the system that keeps them on that spline. And then you gotta think about it: how is it gonna look when they transition from one road to another? So it's like, is it better off at that point just to keep it freeform? Because now buses can go down alleys. Buses can fit in claustrophobic areas. Their AI is dynamic, so they'll just know. So I guess the question is it worth it to put them on a spline-based system like that? I feel like based off of just how dynamic the game is going to get in the future, that we're better off just figuring it out with these buses to begin with, and just figuring out like how to make them work. Oh, that's right. That's her line of order. Okay, so let's see. Uh, what is Devil asking? Is it possible to make the icon selectable? So, are you talking about like the bus's icon selectable? If I'm understanding you correctly, Devil? Salt. You were the first person to suggest that, actually. That's been a wish list item. We haven't done it yet, but it's on my list. So I'll write it down again and I'll put another cross next to it. Clickable unit. Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I've wanted the same thing, where it's like if you see an engineer, you can click on that little icon and that will select them instead of like you have to click on them. You have to have pixel perfect selection like it is right now. You can just highlight like that. Boom, good, good. So I'll write it down again. I'll put another X on it. But that's another one of those things where it's like, well, I'm just kind of biding my time until we can sneak that kind of quality of life stuff in. Let me think. What else do we have here? Huh. I'm gonna double check something on that because you just gave me an idea, Devil. uh, give me till next week. Maybe I'll be able to. Maybe I can figure it out sooner by myself. Um. Okay. So what else do you guys have before we wrap this up? Any other questions? Anything else you guys want to throw in there? Let me turn the audio back up just a tinsy bit. And I'm going to turn music up a little bit to give us some ambience. But I am going to turn down the audio because, my God, those helicopters are loud. There we go. Let's see how little Timmy and his family are doing over here. What are the infected do? Oh, they're in Blue Crest, and then they're in Point Hill. Let's go ahead. Let's build a barracks over here. Yes. So I'm putting that off until we get to the doctrine section of the tree that is the helicopters. So this is gonna be ugly. Bear with me. It's gonna be civilian stuff like what we're doing right now. Oh, let me make it bigger. We just kind of. How the hell do they make it bigger now? Oh, dear. So it's gonna be civilian. It's gonna be driving AI. Then it's gonna be the new ground vehicles. Then it's gonna be the what was it called? Airborne vehicles. If I can spell it right. And then it's gonna be the airstrikes and ground infantry. Now, when it comes to the airborne vehicles, that's gonna be its flying. That's gonna be their target acquisition. It's gonna be physics simulation, and it's going to be essentially like what you're talking about, quality of life changes that just have to happen, like being able to set units on a patrol path, whether they be ground vehicles, whether they be airborne vehicles, and that they'll when they'll the idea would be is that when the gas gets to a certain point, they'll dynamically find a motor pool nearby and go to it, then go back on their patrol route, so you don't have to babysit them. They'll just see, oh, I'm low on gas. Oh, there's a gas thing over there. So the idea is once you set them on a patrol, they're going to ping that entire route, and then they're going to look at nearby motor pools. And then they're going to determine, based off of that, these are all the motor pools that are close to me based off of my patrol route. And then based off of that, they do an algorithm that determines how much gas they need to get there. So then that way, they only do it when it's absolutely necessary, with a certain reserve kept in mind. So they don't just get there like 5 feet away and then they fucking die. It'd be like another like minute or so of reserve gas once they get there. So there's no margin for error is the idea. And they'll just haul ass there and then come back. They're not going to attack anything. They're just going to go straight to the motor pool. They go back to the patrol route, whether it be a helicopter or whether it be a ground vehicle is the idea. And then we'll go from there. Yes, Windows 11 sexy. More so, it gives you all the latest DirectX features. And it's easier to develop in because that's what just generally everyone uses for, like, as far as I know, it's just easier. Like, for me. Uh, do objects block infected? If so, is there possibly an object in a pool, such as a pile of junk a player can place to funnel infected possibly? Any type of bulky infected can break. Oh. Okay, so this object right here obviously blocks the AI. And when the moment I clear it, it's not going to block him anymore. So the idea is the only thing that really blocks him right now is environmental stuff in the world, stuff that they can't physically destroy. Now, we were discussing shipping containers and other stuff like that that would be practically almost indestructible, but that you wouldn't be able to shoot through them, like the current fences. So you can't see through them. You don't know who's on the other side of that shipping container unless you have something looking over it, like a helicopter. And that was something we were discussing super long term out, where it'd be like we want to do shipping container doors and shipping container walls, kind of like a Zack Snyder movie with the zombies and the gambling or whatever. Because in real life, the CDC would employ those. Like whenever they have a TV show or a movie, and they bring the CDC on for inspiration of like, what would you do in a viral outbreak? Shipping containers. They're cheap and they're fast to get. They're in every port in the world, and they're you could get them anywhere within like hours and just close it off. And how is someone going to destroy a shipping container if you have 3 layers of them? No one's going to. So that's the idea of why, like, what the CDC would do in these kind of situations whenever they talk to TV shows or movies or whatever. So that's something we're talking about, but we don't know we're going to fit that in. That's more of a wish list item that's just on the back of my mind right now. So that answers your question for being able to per se block them. Realistically, your best bet is to crowd them via the world environment, like using natural borders and walls like these to corral them. You're talking about the ability for vehicles to push people out of the way, like basically, uh, Grand Theft Auto, ragdolling them. Or basically, if a vehicle hits, yeah, our current system for that is dog shit. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Like, it was the first version. We did not know the best way of doing that, and we put like a ghetto capsule, and then the capsule would only push people and get them out of the way if it was a certain speed, and it's terrible. So yeah, that is going to be here. When we get to the new ground vehicles, that's going to be part of the line items or the sub items that we need to hit upon. In terms of not only can they drive, not only do they avoid constantly running into each other, uh, they don't crash into shit constantly. They make as because I mean there's going to be some weird turning. There's going to be situations where like it happens in Arma, it happens in Company Heroes. It's unavoidable to have vehicle AI that fucks up sometimes. It's just going to happen. But at the very least, being able to get it to where it's a lot more like stable in terms of what you're looking at, and it's not just so clunky like it is right now, or it looks like clowns driving clown cars. Um, Let me see. So yeah, that is something that is going to be included in the vehicle driving AI. It's a sub list of that essentially, because each one of those items is like a dozen things under it. Some of them are a day, some of them are a couple of hours, some of them could be a week, depending on just what kind of obstacles we run into. Uh, would there be also be a feature to potentially unstale the last demo? Just asking us sometimes if I am using the environment to my you want to be able to undo what you've already cleared. I never thought about that. Huh. I mean, obviously it's not realistic, but we could do that. We could have like a clear tool. I mean, that's the only thing. It would remove the clearistic feeling, but it is a video game at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, it's not having fun. Where it's like being able to make people play the game the way they want to play it. And if those people don't want to interact with those systems, they don't. So it's like it's what Panther's saying, but it's also what Devil is saying, where it's like, I would argue that it's fine. Like, because what we do, essentially, is that this right here, we just place down an object. So when you reload a save file, those objects are gone again. We create a capsule, a circle, and that capsule is created for the rest of your game. And all we would have to do is just have an anti-tool where basically instead of being like landscaping, it'd be reverse landscaping. I don't know. It'd be like a keybind you can press when you're yeah, it can just be a keybind where you press like I don't know, like Q. And then that would basically be reverse landscaping mode, where it would change instead of a lawnmower, maybe like a building tool. I don't know. And the idea would be is it would show you areas where you previously cleared. It would glow. And if it glows, then you could bring back the objects that are hidden that are not there anymore. It only works if you remember where the objects are. That is true. So it kind of comes down to is it but then again, have you guys used the feature where is it? There's an option to Oh no, it only works when you're placing down structures. That's right. So like you see right there where it says toggle landscaping, if you press control, it won't hide the tree automatically. Is that what you want? I mean, it kind of already is what you were there. Like, is there something like because you're building? Is my understanding. I mean, because I mean, in essence, it is there. It's just not in the other tool as a control key. So that might be enough for you. I don't know. But then again, that does require you to place a structure down. So that is kind of annoying too. I'll write that down nonetheless. Removing, cleared. Uh, how would I word that? So it makes sense to a programmer. Clearing, removed. No, resetting, removed debris. Sorry, I had to like think about that for a second because I had to be able to like put this on a list, and the programmer has to know immediately of like a 2 sentence description at most. All right, what else do we got here for questions? I do. Hmm. Joker. Joker, 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 Joker. Is it possible to enter the worm breaches of ground units and do special missions or something like that to destroy a hive from the inside? Not a bad idea. We actually have missions in the single player plan for that. But when it comes to the open world, we don't. Um,
A base building is being damaged.
hold on. What in the fuck? Fuck up that goddamn. If that bird comes back, you shoot him. He's adopted. Anyway, sorry. Birds are being rude. I have to think about that one. Because you figure, that's complicated. That's very complicated. I mean, there was a time where we wanted to put underground sections to the game. We wanted to put a subway entrance. We wanted to put sewers. We wanted to put an area where you could go under the map. But that was dropped because of scope and because of resources of the team. That time could come back. You know, it's just right now we got to pace ourselves based off what we already have to do. Because if I can't glitch under the map anymore because we fixed that. For years you were able to see under the map, and if you looked, there was a lot of real estate. Well, we could basically like we even put a subway. Let's see if it's still here. Where are you? Where are you? Aha! Like this, for example. Whereas, like, we actually built like an interior, and you can't really see it anymore because the way we programmed your camera. But there's an actual lane, and then it like opens up over here, and there's like a gate here. So it's like we even put subways. we were going to have the infected be able to use those subways to get around, like in 28 weeks later, where like they'd go underground when the military started bombing, to basically like clear out the cities, and that's how the virus got to Paris and killed everyone. The end. Plot twist. Or I'm sure everyone by now has seen 28 Weeks Later. It's been like 10 years, but we actually have like those like little tunnels all over the place. I have to find them. I don't remember. It's been so long since we I found because we. God damn it, there was a couple around the place. I had to find them, but they're all over the place. There's like probably like four or five all over the place. They're like subways, and it was supposed to be for that idea. Um, if we were to do the Leviathan thing, it would be like a subterranean uh, sewage subway thing that would integrate with mainland San Francisco. So that way, the infection would have water, air, land, and underground to spread. So then that way, like, it'd be more realistic. And then, like, eventually, that's another day entirely, getting into animals and all that. Because we do it with the birds, we don't actually show how it happens. But that comes down to the budget and scope, where it's like we have a lot more to do as the game kind of gets fleshed out more and just kind of expand some of these systems to make it more obvious. Like, if you hit these points, the birds stop being produced. You hit these points, they can't build leviathans. You know, making them their own version of super weapons, super weapon locations, because strategic
Base
resources for
structures
the
have been
infected.
damaged.
Right now, doing the strategic resources for Cirque in terms of the helipad, what the fuck? Fuck you, Leviathan. He came in and he mech fucked everything. Mm, I'm not hurt right now. Okay, anyway, Leviathan just came in, threw in some guys, and killed everyone when I was talking. Any plans on changing the minimap? That is so vague. I don't know what you want me to do there. Right now, the minimap is serviceable. If I were to tell you one of the things that I would do, I would have it draw the borders of the zone on the minimap. But that's all that I have planned right now. And potentially getting some better icons done for the socks, because they're ugly. Um, so, joke up, that's a really good question. Not now. It's not realistic, but it's back there in my list of things you guys don't even know about. It's not even on the TBD that I want to do in the future. Um, I don't know about the Roblox idea, Shablo. Well, let me think about that because realistically, what um, that is essentially what you're asking for is that. Well, it's a roadblock. Where the idea is you'd build these, and in this example, they're used for a civilian evacuation, but theoretically, you could use this for the sake of defense as well, as an entry and exit point for Cirque, as a
A base
blueprint
facility is
prefab.
damaged.
God damn it, who is fucking me now? I think that Leviathan hates my guts. I'm just trying to show an evacuation play style, and he just keeps fucking me up. I should have
Base
probably built.
structure has been damaged.
Ah, he's totally right here, and I can't see him, and he's breaking everything. Okay, all right. You want to be a dick? We can be dicks together. When I spam down smalls, and Ajax is a hose. Okay, let me see. We don't plan on having a decommission system. We plan on instead having a retirement system where you can put people into reserves, and then you can bring them back from the reserve. So that way, let's say you have a really nice spec ops team, they're max leveled out, but you don't have a purpose for them right now. But you need to use that population for something else. You could put them into like a reserve pool, and then you could bring them back out for free as long as you have population available to you. So let's say you lose a shit ton of people, You could have reserves that you built up, like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, whatever, and then you could bring them in and whatnot. Now, when it comes to secondary weapons, I mean, we realistically only have one gun right now because of scope, because we didn't want to make it too complicated with everything else that's going on right now. Um, I really don't have an answer for you when it comes to basically adding more side weapons. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. In terms of basically when we can fit that in, we're based off of the schedule that we have right now. Um, but it's kind of, I mean, we wouldn't have put the secondary weapon system in there if we are just going to sit there and meander around and not actually expand on it. So, I mean, it's something we're going to do. It's just like waiting until we can actually do it. Are those infected? Kill them. Bastards. Let's just sweep the cargo area. What are you getting attacked by? Who's hitting you? What in the Willie? Well, you better shoot that man. Oh my god. Goddamn hostile civilian group in my territory. Alright, let's see what you guys are asking. Melee weapons are not planned right now. Because you figure, I feel like we need to improve the riot shields, and then we can maybe consider doing more melee weapons. Because, motherfuck. God damn it, and I got fucking raiders pushing in from the north, taking advantage of my fucking distraction. Hey, the ragdolls look a lot better. A little bit better. They need a little more work though.
Your base is under attack.
Hold on 1 second. Will you kill him, please? This is what happens when you don't build enough garrison homes.
Warning. The base is under
Potentially
attack.
keep driving while the assault covers you, bro. Good old kite.
Your away team is under attack.
Damn it, keep moving. Let's drop an ammo box for him.
Supply drop is on its way.
Where's he going? Delete
Warning.
you.
A unit has been killed.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Run! Run, little Timmy!
A base building is being damaged.
Oops. Oh, he is so dead. This is what happens when you turtle, boys. And you don't pay attention to what time it is on the map. But the Leviathan's gonna come out and wreck your
Away team is
shit.
under attack.
I should have built repeaters, and I should have raided those anarchist groups nearby. Or rather, the raiders, sorry. It's the raiders that fucking also fucked me because they killed my engineer. He had a small. He was over here being a dick, and he outranged the guy with the rocket launcher for whatever reason, and I got wrecked. Can we kill the Leviathan and then worry about self-preservation? Yeah? Come on, you can do it. Shoot your fucking gun.
Away team is under attack.
Yes, good job. Now you can die. Okay. Let's see. Let's get one of those.
Your away team is under attack.
All right. What were you guys asking? Let's see. Will there ever be a feature of police? Oh, you must. Okay, so let me pull that up. This facility right here is going to be the police station that's in the book that we have that Pierce operates the police faction out of long term. They are not coming to 1.4. So when it comes down to it, when we get to the point of the campaign, we're going to invest resources into Chelsea. Sorry, not Chelsea, fucking the anarchists, Natalie's faction, and the police faction. And the idea is when we get to that point in 1.4, they would role play police in terms of they'll be out in the city fighting the infected regardless until they eventually get beaten down, and then they'll revert back into like more of like a Rick group where it's like a string of police survivors that are just whole held up somewhere. They're not gonna win, but the ideas are there for immersion's sake of selling the complete narrative, and you can work with them or you can kill all of them. That's up to you in terms of however you want to play the game. The idea is that the same system that we have for diplomacy would be expanded for them. The blades, eh? Are they located right the fuck above me? That luck. Right next to my civilian evacuation point, I have a hostile group. I'm gonna go send a car over there and murder all of them. But yeah, that would be the idea. Is that essentially that's just going to be when we do the campaign, we do them for the campaign, and then they trickle over to pandemic because we have to do all the assets for the campaign anyway. And then they go send over this spring brock and put it up their ass. Because boy, are they being annoying. Let's see here. What else do we have? Effect determination for a shield unit. Shield units, hey. Let me We have to fix that. I completely agree with you. It's gonna be one of those things where we're gonna have to do it when we do the non-mechanized stuff. That's gonna be the best time we can do that. Why aren't they shooting me back? I mean, I can't really complain because they're all dead now. But all right, bye. Don't know what happened there. Um, but basically, yeah, the shields do need to be fixed. I will see what we can do for that going into the non-mechanized. So on this list that I put earlier, here, when we get to that point, my goal is to audit every ground unit. So I'll give you a couple of examples of what I plan on doing. Sniper is gaining a mine, or like a claymore kind of device. The engineer is gaining turrets that they can build, kind of like aliens when they're deployable. Um, the assault is losing some weapons, and they're being spread out amongst all the classes to make other classes more viable and more useful. Because the assault, all you do is you build an assault, you don't need anything else. Um, we'll be adding in for the medic so you can disable like their what was it called? Fuck, I'm having a brain fart. The fucking God damn it, I can't remember what we're doing for the medic right now. But the idea is that we're looking at every unit and we're essentially going to be auditing them in terms of like, okay, how can we kind of push their gameplay a little bit further? Like the Spec Ops will actually be more feasibly viable. Like it's going to be pushed to basically be the replacement for the assault in mid to late game, like that kind of stuff, where it's gonna be like we're gonna be just going across the board, looking at all their abilities and just kind of figuring out like what can we give them and move around the range, just kind of make them more like useful per se. Um, those are just a couple of quick examples. Let me see. Any other questions you guys have? Well, you guys have here. Yeah, I'm getting my butt kicked because I'm talking too much. If I wasn't talking and I was focusing on the game, I'd be basically the one clapping them. Guess I'll go on the horn mode. Oh, not this one. I like the other one more. This one's so sweaty. Let's see. Did I miss any questions? This map is not impossible. It's just really hard. Because the person that made this map is horrible. They're a dick. And every time I tell them to make it easier, they're like, I made it easier. And it's still just as fucking hard. but mind you, I did redo the spawning tables for the juggernauts. So I did improve them quite a bit to my defense. For basically making it to where you don't get like 80 billion juggernauts anymore. At least not in the first couple waves anymore. They're more spaced out. You'll roughly get about maybe one juggernaut by wave 2 or 3, and then you'll start getting like 2 to 3 juggernauts by wave 5 to 6, and then by wave 10 you'll get like maybe 6 to 7. I mean, it's all random anyway to a certain degree. It's all just a percent number. Let's see. Yeah, the big ape dude is called the Juggernaut. Are you talking about the heavy minigun, Joker? Let me think about that. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, one last question. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna give it 6 more minutes, and then basically I'm gonna go offline and write some notes down and figure out what we're all gonna be doing going into tonight, tomorrow, or whatnot. So let's see. I have no idea what that bug is that you just mentioned. I've never even seen that reported before, I think. I don't remember it being reported. You need to like record that on OBS, on Gazo, and show us how it's happening, when it happens, and the frequency of it or something. Because I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I've seen units phase through walls, but we fixed that a long time ago. That was a collision issue related to the HLOD system. But what you're describing is something I've never even heard of. The only thing I can think of what's happening there is that you had units on a helicopter. The helicopter exploded, and they crash land on the roof. But beyond that, I don't know what that could be. That's interesting, actually. Alright, so we have 5 minutes, so we need to wrap this up, boys and girls. Any other questions you guys have before basically I run away to go write my notes tonight? Can no, not right now. No, we're not doing that until the infected can get on those fucking roofs. So until we have the time to implement the AI climbing and the AI card, that ain't happening. Once we put in the ability and we figure out how to reproduce it and roll it out everywhere, so like little Timmy can go right here and run up this wall and climb up the wall and then come up, then you get your building on rooftops. And then I get to laugh when people realize that it's actually added in there. Because the idea is we want to do 2 things. We want to have repelling for the Circ, and we want to have climbing for the infected. And ideally, the best time to do that is going to be the infected AI card. That's kind of like one of the line items that we're going to experiment and figure out, can we do it yet? Because when we tried it previously, it would work in small maps, but it would not work in the larger map because it's some kind of engine bug with running the navigation building. Like it just would break, and we couldn't figure out why. And that was like a year ago we tried it last. So we're gonna, mind you, we've also learned a lot of new ways, like lerping and interpolating an actor up an object. So maybe we just end up just doing our own custom solution, honestly. At that point, we just need to detect where the infected is going, trying to go. And if they're trying to go on a roof, find a transit point and move them up to said transit point until they reach their roof, push them over, and then they go on a killing spree or whatever they need to do. But then the inverse of that is they have to be able to jump off those buildings. I guess they apply some falling damage. That'd be kind of funny, actually. But fuck it, it's kind of cool too. I mean, like if anyone's seen Dead City, from The Walking Dead recently when Maggie and Negan go to New York. That was cool. In terms of basically the whole thing of them falling off of the buildings and whatnot based off of them being too tall. Well, capture the worm. Where the fuck did that question come from? Hold on. Oh shit.
Warning. The base is under attack.
You're dead. You're dead. Might as well take him with you. Oh, didn't kill him. Oh, no, get line of sight, you fool.
Unit has been killed.
Kill him. Kill him now. You missed. God damn it.
Warning. A unit has been killed.
Yes, right in the ass. Okay, good. We're safe. No, buildings are not going to degrade. They're going to be based off of just normal RTS. They take damage. They basically just only die by actually taking health damage. You know, maybe if my technical artist gets his way, maybe we'll add some kind of like visual, like dirtiness, like must or whatever, like dust or whatever. I don't know. Like Grand Theft Auto for when cars get dirty, but for right now, I'm not really gonna worry about that. When it comes to capturing monsters, Leviathan, no. Juggernaut, yes. Some mutations of the Juggernaut, like the blow up guy and the spitter, and standard infected, yes. We have a cage that fits the Juggernaut and fits all the infected. We just haven't had the time to implement those mechanics. Like, it's basically, we want to do something like Monster Hunter where you could farm DNA and you could use non lethal weapons. We actually have a variable that's not used in gameplay called stamina. And what it allows you to do is you can equip, take it back. The civilians use stamina. And that's why we have this little boy right here, the beanbag gun. The beanbag gun affects their stamina. So it's one of those things where, like, long term, we wanted to have guns that would essentially affect an affected stamina level, so you can incapacitate them and then transport them to cages to farm DNA in mass. But there's no point to do that yet until we add a DNA research tree. So it's one of those things where it's like I'll just expand the list from hell. That's the list from hell. So you figure this is going to round out the year at this point in terms of basically just kind of like, and then we're going to start the campaign work regardless late summer from a concept writing planning standpoint. But easily this will eat that up. But the idea would be is that what you're suggesting would be in this bracket of area, but it kind of just depends on like how much we can kind of allocate to it because you figure we're already behind as is. We might just have to just bite the bullet and just keep being behind and just do it so it's done right and we don't have to come back and change it again. Because that's ideally why we're still on the civilian evacuation. Is we need to do it till it's done and not put in a weird system that just doesn't even work and no one likes, or like a very small demographic of people like it because they wish it was better. Um, Destruction. Excellent question. So, I'll bring this up on my website. We'll do Edge, because that's a horrible browser just to piss everyone off. So, as of Unreal Engine 5.4, they just released the final version of Chaos. So the idea is that you figure before we start the advanced vehicle AI, we're going to convert our entire engine to 5.4 because that includes a good majority of the tools that we need that we've been waiting for to leave beta. And one of the biggest ones was, where are you? Right here. Chaos Destruction is now production ready. which means that now they recommend that you use this in ship products. Before then, it was like, oh, this is kind of nice. You see some YouTubes with videos with it. You maybe see some development studios using it, but if they used it and they shipped it and it doesn't work correctly, you're ass out. You have to fix it. And the people that made it are going to be like, we told you not to ship with it. Why did you ship with it? So it's one of those things where it's like now that it's production ready, it's something we're going to be looking into in terms of like implementing and essentially getting it. So right now we're on 5.3. You can actually see the version we're on up here in that little grayed out text. So we're going to transition the engine over. After we finish the civilian evacuation, transition the engine over to 5.4. So we get the better chaos vehicles. So we get the finished production ready chaos destruction. And when we do the vehicles is when we do the destruction. Because they're going to be hand in hand. There's driving AI is a couple of line items. For what they've said, destruction is performant and efficient. But it's going to come down to optimization and tweaking. Of course, everything you put into a game is always going to affect performance. You start at 1,000 frames and you only go down. For every mechanic, every system, every model, every texture, everything just deteriorates performance. It's just a matter of just min-maxing what we're putting in and just kind of finding a baseline of like hitting it. So yeah, it's going to affect it, but that's why we're going to have video options. So if people don't like want to turn it on to like potato mode, they can. It's going to come down to just again, we're going to have to test it. I mean, theoretically this is already in Fortnite. It's already on your phones. It's already on the what's that Nintendo platforms? The DS, the Switch, the Switch. So theoretically, they've already shipped this in a bunch of different games being in Fortnite already. So theoretically, it is performant, and it should work for what we're going to be using it for, but we won't know until we jump in there. So it's one of those things where we need to just kind of like update to this engine version and see what comes of it. Because you figure like another example is we're going to be using this. Let me find it. So we put infected growth into the game like a year ago, and it blew up the engine because we couldn't do it to the level that was like prototype. Well, beyond prototype, where it would like actually be everywhere. It was bad. Like you'd get like 10, 15 frames per second the moment the infection growth started spreading. So what we're going to be leveraging, if I can goddamn find it, is a new technology feature they put in Unreal Engine called. Oh, we're gonna be using motion matching too for the animations. But Michael has to figure out that because it's going to basically make the animations easier to author. Because what you do, if you see the Asmongold's video on YouTube, you just put a shit ton of walk cycles onto like a program, and then the program automatically generates realistic movement for every direction. And the more animations you feed it, the better the better the movement looks. It's revolutionary. But no, what I'm looking for is God damn it. Let me just use a table of contents. It would be to go to the top, and then do they have? Let me just scroll down. Rendering. Where are you? Doop, doop. It would be. I'll just search for the term. No. Oh, PCG, that's the term they use. Ah, here we are. So this is something we're going to be using to basically figure out the infection growth. Is what you do is that basically it allows you to runtime create HLODs that simplify the collision and the draw calls and everything else to make objects inherently very cheap. So they're going to be figuring out procedural content generation. So we can basically give the infection growth a series of rules, and then it would dynamically spread in the world. So that's something we have to figure out. Well, so my technical artist got to figure out. Where it's like nodes like this, where you just kind of define like it, like you basically are defining how grass grows. But instead of grass, it's essentially an infection system that would like grow on walls, grow on the floor, grow everywhere and down alleys. So the idea is that by destroying local pods, that growth dies, decays, and it starts to look like the upside down world from Stranger Things. Because that's like our ultimate goal, leaving early access. Polishing the game, making it look more sexy, making it look more like a modern title, is essentially making it to where like we have these kind of dynamic systems. An author, an animator, or whatever doesn't have to go in and offer these areas by hand. They just set up a rule set, a system, and then it just works. Um, it really comes down to your processor, and I think I touched on this earlier in the week. Is that if I go to our website and I go to the where are you? The bug report section, you'll see that I put up a section um, basically where it goes on tips on maintenance, but it also talks about basically like bottlenecks. I listed a video here where our game is more CPU bound. So what CPU bound means in video games, like Arma is CPU bound, Stellaris is CPU bound. Um, a lot of simulator open world games are CPU bound, like City Skylines is CPU bound. But the idea is that your CPU is doing a lot of math and calculations, and your GPU is kind of sleeping. So, the idea, I guess CSGO is CPU bound. So, you just need a really good CPU. You need about 6 to 8 cores, minimally. You need like a newer generation i7, a newer generation IMD processor. I personally run this. An i9 13900K, 64 gigs of RAM, and a 480. I consistently get 80 or 90 frames. The only time I get lower than 80 or 90 frames is there's a performance issue in the build that hasn't been addressed. Like when I was telling you earlier, you guys, in the stream about where the ragdolls have a bug. And there's some physics issues that have bugs that we need to hunt down and fix going into tonight. So, again, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, um, but yeah, ideally, like a high-end rig is like anything above a 10th generation processor, I would say. Anything above 10 to 11, you should be fine. But once you get like a little bit below that, you're gonna start to chug. Like the computer behind me, it's like a 6th generation i7, 2.7 gigahertz. It's a potato. But you figure that's the mid spec. I gotta get another. I have to set up that monitor or that keyboard back there. That's actually what I use when I just prop the monitor against the wall, and then I move a mouse over there, and then I play the build whenever I need to, and it has a Wi-Fi card on it, so that way I can just update to the Steam build or run a developer build and basically just test things live. Um, let me see. What other questions you guys have? We kind of went over our time frame, but it is what it is. Let me just go ahead and close down this browser tab and we're going to switch over to the engine to give it focus. Okay, well, let's see. That processor is below spec, definitely. How in the fuck are you running the game with that processor? How is that working? Do you have like magic going on? Like, do you have like a deal with someone? Like, how is that running? Like, how is that? I'm literally confused. Like, how is that working? What frame rate do you get? I'm just genuinely curious right now. Yeah, but how many frames are you getting consistently? Like 30, 40, 50, what? Please check that. I'm generally curious. Like, go to Steam, go to the gear, go to in-game FPS counter, and turn it on to a direction. and then turn on high contrast color, and generally I want to know what frame rate you're getting because like that is blowing my mind right now. Like maybe we've done a better job than I thought, but like you figure, you know what it also might be? It might be your video settings. I'm really curious what you're using here. Are you using a mix of ultra? Are you using low? What are you using for settings? I'm just curious. Ultra, what the fuck? Yeah, give me that number. I need that number. And like, cause I'm confused. My dog is sleeping and she's confused. Azula, come here. Oh, Panda Bear, come say hello before I turn off the stream. Oh, normally she sleeps on my lap when I play the game or when I work. She'll basically just kind of sleep right here and just chill. This is the executive decision maker. She makes all the decisions for the game, and she's like really tired right now because we went out running earlier. Um, let's see. Yeah, because like it's anything above 50 to 60 is still good. Ideally, we want to double that number to 120 to like 150. Like, give you an example. When you pause your game, if your CP if your FPS jumps, you're CPU bound. If your FPS doesn't change, then you're GPU bound. That lets you know what is the weaker link. So right now I'm getting 149 frames. If I were to load into like a high intensity battle and then pause the game, look at your frame rate and see what it goes to. That's basically like because when it pauses the game, it pauses all the threads. It pauses all the game calculations. So it takes the load off your CPU. And if you notice that your frame rate doubles or triples, then that lets you know right there that the issue is with your CPU and you could have a better CPU and that your video card is just mostly just chilling, just relaxing, like Azilla here. Licking me to death again. You don't need to lick me? She's like the most spoiledest brat ever. But anyhow, so that gives you a good idea, I would imagine, kind of figure out where to start for your hardware. But again, keep in mind, we still have work to do. We still have optimization that needs to be done. There's a lot in the engine that we haven't been able to kind of take apart and figure out. Like, there are YouTube videos online where people have custom movement components that have millions of characters, and they're getting hundreds of frames per second. And it's like, some of those changes we're afraid of doing until we get the co-op. So we don't engineer something that fundamentally will not work on a multiplayer won't work in a multiplayer environment. It's just too much data to send over the internet. So some of these changes are just earmarked until we get to that point of implementing co-op. And then we're gonna have a section of the co-op that's just R&D, where we're like, okay, we know the game works right now with the 230 people that we have. Let's look at some of these video tutorials, look at some of the sample code that we've collected over the years. And since we're doing the co-op code, let's copy and paste some of this in. Let's use it as a starting point, and let's see if we can push some of these systems further, make them cheaper. Because right now, what makes our game CPU bound is character movement, pathfinding, physics. Um, yeah, well, those are the three. And realistically, it's the movement of characters. That's the number one enemy. Then it's the physics. And then it's the path. Pathfinding isn't really that bad. We do a lot of things to negate it. It's really just the character movement that fucks us because every single character in the scene has a constant cost, and we try to mitigate that cost by min-maxing their tick rates based off of LOD and min-maxing like their fidelity when they're off screen. We turn off things, that kind of stuff. So yeah, hello. Come on, Brat. You want to go back out? Oh yeah, she wants to go back outside and play when we're done. You can see it in the eyes, and she's just like, executive decision. You must go out and play with ball. Um, that's already in the engine. We just turned it off because if we turned it on, it wouldn't really be worth it. Like you think, I don't think there's really a reason to push ray tracing or path tracing until we as a team have the performance and the gameplay where it needs to be so we can realistically tune those systems and not have to go back and forth and adjust it every other month because we're adding in new shit constantly. Like a lot of things visually are gonna look like dog shit, my opinion, until the gameplay is where it is, where I'm happy, everyone's happy, and then we can focus on making things look better. And then we can, at the same time, as we make things look better, put more of an emphasis on the optimization. So maybe we could get running on Intel dedicated chips like what the fuck is that game? The Starfield. No, Starfield. Fuck. Oh my god, the space game. No Man's Lie. No Man's Sky, basically. Whereas basically the idea is that like that kind of stuff, where we can get it running on lower end video cards. But again, it's just gonna be a logical flow of getting to that point. Um, yeah, yeah. And I had to upgrade to a newer CPU. And realistically, sometimes it comes down to your RAM speed. RAM speed matters quite a bit in terms of transferring stuff where it needs to go. Like RAM speed can increase your loading times substantially and increase your frame rate by like 5 to 10 frames, depending on just generally, like what kind of speed you're running. But yeah, again, it's gonna be just one of those things where it's gonna be touch and go for the time being. Well, I have an i9, so I don't. I honestly don't know. I just got the i9 because I knew that it had no issues. It would support 6,000 megahertz RAM speed. I can go up to 7K if I really wanted to, but I don't need to. 6,000 is enough to get the job done, I would say. Trying to think here. What else is there? Oh, we're gonna be so people that are here, we're gonna be redoing the podcast. I'm gonna be canceling the schedule that we have up now. We're gonna be finding a new time of day. We're gonna have a new host because Duravar is taking a hiatus. Um, so we're gonna have to find a new host. We're gonna have a new format that's more professional. It has like a 3D modeled stream room that's themed off of Cirque. We're gonna have our webcams. I'm gonna try and force more developers to come on because they're antisocial, so they hide from me. They hide. Every time I get them, every time I try to get someone on, they fucking hide. Or everyone asks me the questions, and then they want to run away anyway. Because everyone asks gameplay questions, and nobody asks questions for like modeling or animation or whatever. And then they're like, why am I here? Fuck. And then I end up answering all the questions, and it's annoying. And I try and send them questions, and they're like, I don't know the answer to this. And I'm like, fuck. So it's one of those things where it's like, we have to figure that out. We're going to figure out a schedule so we can try and get more of the devs on. And then we're going to try and figure out a schedule or a system so we get more random questions. One thing that I want to do is I want to try and appoint maybe 2 to 3 people from the community. They get to come in and ask questions, like a panel of people every couple of weeks, every month, basically. Well, they just come in and they could just kind of sit up in the stage and they can ask questions and they're just kind of there and just basically, talk about things, discuss things. Like whatever it is in terms of evacuations, in terms of vehicles, just kind of add some more personality to every discussion. So it's not just me and the host. It'd be like 2 or 3 other random people that are just there on top of whatever questions come up in the audience, X, Y, and Z. So I'm gonna figure out some kind of selection system for that, and then I gotta find a podcast person to put in charge of that. So I'll be putting a ping for that. After this, I'll be putting a ping up to basically discuss. Uh, we're gonna be reorganizing the podcast and just all the other fun stuff. I definitely try that because I'm fucking tired of the major studios fucking us. In terms of like we don't know what's going on, we don't know what they're planning, and just people just don't talk to you anymore. Like, or if you do, they tell you one blog post every year, every 6 months, and you gotta like take out a Venn diagram to figure out the hidden meaning in the text. In terms of like they said this word, so maybe they're adding vehicles. Like it's like that kind of shit where it's like I'm not trying to do all that. Zula, you look at me too much, girl. I'm gonna trigger my allergies. So again, we try and make it so where we're as vocal as possible to keep those lines of communication open and set the expectation in terms of like, yeah, we're gonna fuck shit up sometimes. We're not gonna get everything right the first time, but at least we're honest and we listen. And even if I don't do something someone suggests in that moment, I still write it down. I still remember it. So then that way, maybe in the future, I can be like, well, this might be the right time to do this now. Or like, now it makes more sense. Like the civilian evacuation thing, where someone wrote that on the Discord a year ago. And what we're currently doing for the civilian evacuation stuff right now. Couldn't do it at the time. We had too much stuff going on. But I still remembered, and I still was like, that was a good idea. I'm gonna write that down, even if I don't reply back to it directly in the thread, because that day I forgot to, sadly. But he like linked me to the thread like a couple months ago, where he was like, "Oh my God, you actually listened to what I said," and it was like literally like almost a year ago that he wrote it. So it's like one of those things where it's like that's what I try and do, is at least try and kind of have that communication with everyone. I was like, what are you doing? Sorry, my dog's a diva. We're gonna have like a staring contest. I sent it you. Yeah, so you figure it's fun. I like it. It keeps us basically like attentive in terms of what's going on. Yeah, no, this dog is like the biggest baby. Like literally, she'll just sit here and just as I stream, I play games normally, or like doing game design, she'll just sit under my feet, or she'll basically sit on my lap. Oh, I got lucky with her. Like she's great. Like she keeps me sane, basically. I keep me company. Spoiled brat she is. Like look at her. She's like, oh, that's the spot. So spoiled, like a dolphin when you scratch her on the butt. Um. Okay, well, we shall conclude there. I will be in contact on the Discord about the podcast stuff and what we're gonna do for the monthly thing. Thank you guys so much for coming. Um, and yeah, we'll just basically keep an eye out for when we release it so you guys can give it a try. Once I find the button. And I broke it. Okay, cool. You guys have a good